school. But today we are going to learn more about Native. Dear God, we learn a lot about Native Americans. Maybe this month here in your school, you will learn lots about Native Americans because we usually call November Native American Heritage Month. And we use November to learn a lot about the way that Native American people lived a long time ago and about the way that Native American people live today. That are very important. And all my clothes that I have on today that I wanted to share with you are clothes that come from my tribe. My tribe. And some things we have been wearing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Some things are a little bit more new, maybe only 300 or 400 years old. Okay? So some things a long time ago, some things a little bit more recently. But my tribe is called Onondaga. Onondaga. Have you heard that word before? Yeah. Some yes, some no's, that's okay. That's why we come to school, to learn new things, right? So, Onondaga is one of 5 tribes that lives all across what we now call New York State, this place where we live. And the Onondagas, where I come from, is one of those tribes that join together to live peacefully with one another. Now, let's have you guys try to say this word one time so you say the name of my tribe. I'll say it as you say it. Onondaga. Onondaga. Do it one more time. Onondaga. Excellent. When you say that name, you are saying the name of my tribe, where I come from. And you can tell that I come from Onondaga because of my Gastoa. Gastoa is our word for hat or headdress. I'm going to have you two like that. Scoot over there. No, I'm afraid I'm going to step on it. Keep seeing you on the corner of my head. Can't let me swallow you. We just do the thing. I just keep seeing on the corner of my eye. I don't want to step on. So you guys are fine where you are. I just want to. All right. So when you look at my Gastoa, which means hat or headdress, you see up on the top 2 big giant eagle feathers. And the 2 eagle feathers tell you where I come from. Today, the 5 different tribes that I mentioned, each one wears a different number of eagle feathers on their Gastoa. So usually when I say I am Onondaga, I point at my head so that you can see those 2 big feathers. But there's something else on my clothes and animals that is very, very, very important to me. What animal do you see all over my clothes? Turtle. I got turtles all over the place. Because turtle is a symbol for my family. At my tribe, we have 9 different families, and they all have animal names or animal symbols. We have the turtle. There's also the bear, the wolf, the beaver, the deer, hawk, blue heron, snipe, which is a little small bird, and eel. So each person comes from one of these 9 clans or families, and it's a very, very important symbol to us. The one that I come from is Turtle. And one thing that I often say about clans, this is true a long time ago, it's still true today, certain clans have certain jobs at certain times. So you got to know what clan that you are from to know what job you're supposed to do and when you are supposed to do it. Okay? So that is something that is still very, very important to us, right? All right, let's have a story right now, and this is a super, super, super fun and super important story to the Onondaga people. And I'm going to need some volunteers for my story. We're going to make some of you part of the story. Okay? Not just yet. We'll get to the volunteers in just a little while. I'll be asking for certain things as we go. All right? So if you want to volunteer, you should be here. You want to be part of it. Okay. Now this story is very important to us. It is the story of creation. It's the story that tells how the whole world got to be. Where did all this stuff come from? Yeah, well, all The Haudenosaunee, the Onondaga people where I come from, was just like that. And we have a story that explains where the world comes from. And I want to share it with you right now. It's a very, very fun story, very important to us. And listen, it's very important. Okay, let's have this story of creation. Here we go. Well, we say this story happened long time ago. And back at this time, all of the things that we can see whirled around us. Things like trees, things like grass, things like rocks, things like people. None of these things were here. All that was here was water. Water covered the whole world as far as the eye could see in every direction. There was only water. Now in the water there were some animals that lived, like fish, like beaver, like clam, animals that lived in the water. On top of the water, we birds, like duck, seagull, swan, other kinds of birds that live on the water. And up above these birds and animals was a blue dome that covered the whole sky. Go outside right now and look up. You'll see that blue dome. Well, the birds and animals down in the water, they didn't know it back then, but up above that blue dome is another world. What the Onondaga people call the sky world, or the spirit world. It's kind of our idea of heaven. Well, up in the sky world, there are people that live, that look just like we do. We call them sky people. And the sky people back then lived just like the Onondaga people did a long time ago. They wore clothes made out of deer skin, like I have on. They lived in very long houses made out of bark and wood. They hunted for animals like the deer and the bear and the moose. They planted crops like corn, beans, squash, just like the Onondaga people did a long time ago. But also up in that world at that time, there was one tree that grew that was very important. It was called the tree of life. And this tree was so important because out of it grew big white flowers. And out of the flowers came light. So it was a very important tree. But one day, something happened to that tree. Okay, I need a tree. Who wants to be my tree? I need a tree. I need a tree. One day, that great tree, it started to shake. It started to quake. It started to tremble. And boom, the tree fell over. And the roots pulled up out of the ground. And it made a big hole. So, the sky people heard about that tree falling over, and they came out to see what happened. But one woman came out. Her name was Yojitjitsen. And when Yojitjitsen came out, she saw that where the roots had pulled up and made the big hole, that it was so big, it went all the way through to the world of water down below. Well, the sky people back then, they didn't know about the water that was below their feet. Yojitjitsen wanted to see what was down in the hole. So she got up close to it to have a look. But as she was looking, the ground on the edge of the hole, it started to crumble. Her foot slipped, and she fell. She fell down into the hole. She reached out and tried to grab on to the sides to stop herself from falling. All that she came up with was 2 handfuls of dirt. She slid down into the hole. Started to tumbled towards the water down below. Well, as she was falling down through the sky, some of those birds happened to look up. And they said, look, look, there's a woman fallen from a hole in the sky dome. But the birds knew she couldn't come down that far and survive. They decided to fly up to catch her in their wings, to bring her down safely. The ducks and geese were selected, and they flew up into the air. I need a duck. I need a duck. Who wants to be a duck? Come on, come on. The ducks, they flew up into the air, they spread out their wings, and they made a nice bed for her. The woman landed bloop, right on their backs. And then they turned and started to glide slowly towards the water to bring her down safely. Well, as they were coming down through the sky, one of the geese got a very smart idea in his mind. So he flew ahead of all of the rest, and he came down to the surface of the water. There he found a great snapping turtle. And the goose said, great turtle, listen, listen, listen. We are bringing this sky woman who has fallen from a hole in the sky dome. But she is very heavy on our backs, and I don't think she can float on the water like we do. But it doesn't look like she can swim like you or the fish. She needs a place to live in our world. May we put her onto your back so she stays up out of the water. Well, the snapping turtle thought about this for a minute, and he said,
that would be a very good thing. You may put the sky woman onto my back.
And that is usually what we call this woman right to this day. We call her Sky Woman, but the two animals named her. But the turtle is very wise, and he said something else. He said,
my back, my shell, it is very hard, it is very bumpy. I do not think the sky woman would be very comfortable. But at the bottom of this ocean, there is dirt and mud. If someone could go down and bring some up, they could put it onto my back. Then the sky woman has a good place to live.
Oh, the animals, they all thought that this was a very good idea. So they tried to dive down to the bottom of that ocean. The beaver tried to go down. The otter tried to go down. The loon tucked her wings and tried to dive down. It was too deep. Nobody could make it. Until along came a little small animal. Maybe only this big. Long, skinny tail. Little round black eyes. Today, some people don't like this animal. They think he's very dirty. But he is very, very important to the Haudenosaunee. His name, Muskrat. I need a muskrat. Who wants to be my muskrat? Who wants to be muskrat? Come here. Muskrat took in a big gulp of air and started to swim all the way to the bottom of the ocean. Muskrat grabbed a paw full of dirt and then brought it back up to the surface. The other animals came and took the dirt from Muskrat's paw and smoothed it out on the back of the big turtle. So the birds came down and they put the sky woman onto the new patch of land. As she came down onto it, she started to walk. And then she started to dance, pushing one foot in front of the other. And as she danced, that piece of land started to grow. And it grew, and it grew, and it grew to the place where she lived. To the place where we all live right to this day. On what the Onondaga people call Great Turtle Island. But what most people call Earth, or North America, this place where we live. When the Sky Woman danced, she opened up her hands. The dirt and the seed she had grabbed up above came out and scattered across the Turtle Island. And that's where we get all the grasses that we see growing in the world around us. But there was another seed in her hand at that time. There was the seed to the strawberry plant. And to this day, when the Onondaga people see the strawberries start to grow, we have a whole ceremony of Thanksgiving. We say thank you to the strawberry for being delicious, but also for being the leader of all the berries. Strawberry tells everybody else it's time to start growing. But to this day, when the Onondaga people see that strawberry, we also remember that it was a gift from the sky world when the great Turtle Island was brand new. And now I will say to you, Daneho. When you hear me say Daneho in Onondaga language, that means I am done. It's like the end. Daneho. That story is done. Oh, all right. Oh, thanks so much. All right. Thank you. All right. Fantastic. Now, one of the things about the Onondaga people that's very, very, very important to us, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that they are one of 5 different tribes of Native American people that lived and continue to live all across upstate New York. But a long time ago, more than 1,000 years ago, the people of those 5 tribes, they did not get along. In fact, back then, the people of the 5 tribes were constantly fighting and constantly at war. It was a terrible time for the people of the 5 tribes. Was that fighting a good thing? No. But fortunately for us, for the people of the 5 tribes, about 1,000 years ago, a man came to live among us. He came from a different tribe. But when he came to us, he talked to us about peace. And he said that we should stop fighting with one another, that we should join together and live in peace. He gave us ways of thinking about peace that we had never thought of before. And he gave us rules to follow, a lot of them, 117 of them. But he said, if you can follow all the rules, then you can live in peace. Now, some people heard what this, and by the way, he talked about peace so much, we call him the Peacemaker. Some people heard what the Peacemaker said, and they liked it. They wanted to stop fighting. But some people heard what he said, and they didn't like it. They wanted to keep on fighting. It was all that they knew. So the Peacemaker came up with a very special way to show that we should join together, live in peace. What he would do is he would take up an arrow, just one, like the one that I have right here. He would hold it up for everyone to see, and he would tell everyone, if you stand alone as one person or one tribe of people, like the one arrow, well then you are not very strong. You can easily be defeated, easily broken. And then he would take that arrow and he would snap it in the right path to prove his point. But then the Peacemaker would pick up 5 arrows. He would bundle them all together, just like the bundle of 5 arrows that I have right here. He would hold the bundle up for everyone to see. And he would say, if you can join yourselves together in a union in a confederacy. That is a word that you are going to hear a whole lot when you get into 4th grade. If you can join yourselves together, bundle yourselves in peace, just like the bundle of 5 arrows. Follow all of the rules that I am giving to you. Well, then you will be very strong. You will be so strong that your union will last forever. And then he would show that he could not break any of those arrows tied together. They were stronger joined in peace. He convinced everybody to stop fighting and to join together. And when he joined us together, he said, from now on, I want you to call yourselves by a very special name. He said, from now on, you will call yourselves Haudenosaunee. Haudenosaunee. Can you guys say that word one time? Let's try again. I'll say it, then you say it. Haudenosaunee. One more. Haudenosaunee. One more time. Haudenosaunee. There we go. When you say that word, Haudenosaunee, you are saying a word in my language. You're not speaking English. You're saying a word in Onondaga language. Haudenosaunee in English means the people who are building the long house. People making or building the long house. And Haudenosaunee is what we call ourselves, all joined together right to this day. Now, when the Peacemaker got us to join together, he gave us something else. He got some shells, and he cut them up, and he turned them into little beads. And then he would string those beads together in long strands, or sometimes in long belts. And we have a special name for these little beads. We call it wampum. Wampum is what we call it. When we put it all together like this, it's called a wampum belt. Just like the one that I have in my hands. Now, the one that I have in my hands is a very, very important wampum belt to us. All wampum belts have an important job. Wampum belts tell stories. There is a picture, like this one, or a pattern that tells a story. And it's somebody's job to remember that story. This one tells the story of the Peacemaker. And it tells how he got the 5 tribes to join together. Do you see the 5 tribes on the belt? Here are the Mohawk people, the Oneida, the Onondaga, right in the middle, that's where I come from, the Cayuga, and the Seneca. And the Seneca people are the people that lived right here, where we are today. In fact, there's lots of things named after the Seneca people still around here today. Driving from the other school, I went by Seneca Park too. So there's lots of things named after this group of people. And all joined together, we call ourselves Haudenosaunee. There we go. Now, one of the things that happened, and this happened just about 40 years ago, the Haudenosaunee people started to play sports. And they were very good. There were different sports that they played, but especially one in particular, lacrosse. But they also started going to meetings with important people, like the president, like the Prime Minister of Canada. They were going to the United Nations. They were going to places where they had to show that they were Haudenosaunee. Now, when we want to show that we are Haudenosaunee, could we walk around waving around wampum belts all the time? No. So, a friend of mine, really, it's a friend of mine. His name is Rick Hill.
He is from the beaver clan. Not the turtle like me. He is from the beaver clan, and he is from a tribe called Tuscarora. And the Tuscaroras were people that came and joined the 5 tribes. Today we have 6. And he is from that one that joined us, the Tuscarora. So when my friend Rick was thinking about going to these meetings and playing these sports, he said, well, we can't wave these around, but lots and lots of people have flags. And they show those flags to show who they are. So he got the idea to make a flag. And he made this one. Right here. And people started to show this flag to show that we are Haudenosaunee. Now, did we have flags like this 600 years ago? No. But does the design look familiar? Yeah. It comes from the wampum belt. And when I see this flag that my friend Rick designed, it reminds me of the story, just like the wampum belt does, of the Peacemaker. And we see the 5 tribes on here. And we remember that we join together to live in peace. So, when I see this flag, it makes me think about peace. But the flag is a little bit like a map also. Because the Mohawk people were in one part of our territory, all the way across to the Seneca people who live right here. And now your school is going to show this flag along with the flag of the United States. Probably have that flag in your classroom, the red and white one with the stars on it. That shows the United States. But who were the first people to live here? The Haudenosaunee. Specifically right here, the Senecas. So your school has made the very, very, very excellent decision to show this flag also. To say, these were the people that lived here first. And they still live here now. Because I live around here. Yeah. So there's still lots of Native American people that live around here. So your school is going to show this. Every time you see this here in your school, I want you to think about the Haudenosaunee, and I want you to think about joining together in peace. Because peace is what we think about when we see this flag. And now when we go to those meetings, or we play in those sports, we show our flag. Don't have to wave around a wampum belt. Okay? So, that flag is super, super, super important to us, and I'm so happy and glad that your school is going to hang up that flag also. Okay? Just like the schools where I'm from. Excellent, excellent. All right, let me check with your teacher. How are we doing on time? I can't remember what time we were supposed to end. We got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to tell you guys a super, super, super quick story. Let's have one more fun story. How about a story about a fox? Have you ever seen a fox eat an apple? This is the story of why foxes don't eat apples. Here we go. Well, we say this story happened a long time ago, back when the Great Turtle Island was new. And back then, there was a guy that lived here that was very tricky. And he loved to play tricks on people. But one day, this tricky fox was walking through the forest, and he heard somebody munching away on something that sounded delicious. He looked around and he saw up in the tree Mr. Raccoon nibbling away on a plump red, juicy, delicious looking apple. And that fox thought, whoo, I bet I can trick that raccoon to get the apple away from him. So he called up into the tree, "Hello, Mr. Mask on the Face. Would you like to trade for that delicious-looking apple?" But Raccoon had been tricked by the fox before, and he didn't want to get tricked again. So he said, No, Mr. Pointy Nose. I don't want to trade with you." But that fox, he wanted that apple. "Oh, come on, Mr. Washes all his food. Let's make a trade." So the raccoon said, "Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Smells the backside of other foxes. How about if I tell you where you can hunt for apples? Then you can get all the apples you want." Ooh, Fox thought he was a great hunter. So he said, "Oh, I would make that trade. What do you want in exchange?" And the raccoon said, "If I tell you where to find the apples, you have to promise to never eat raccoon again." "Oh, never again. Oh, that's too much, said the fox. "How about if I don't eat raccoon for 1 minute?" Oh, 1 minute. Oh, 1 minute. That's not enough, said the raccoon. "How about for 1,000 years?" 1,000 years? Oh, that's too much. They went back and forth, negotiating until they agreed that Fox would not eat raccoon for a whole year. They were ready to make the trade. So the raccoon said, "Mr. Fox, what you got to do is you got to go down this path. You got to keep going until you come to a hill, go up over the hill, come back down the other side, keep going until you see a big oak tree. At the big oak tree, whoop, turn right, and then go down that path. Keep going until you come to a stream. Go across the stream, keep going, you'll go up over another hill. Keep going. Until there it is, the apple tree. But be careful. It's a special tree. You have to sneak up on it. The tree, if it sees you coming, it will grab a hold of you with its branches, and it will gobble you up. The fox had never heard of a tree that ate foxes before. He said, "Well, how am I supposed to sneak up on the tree?" The fox said, "What you got to do? Get down on your belly. Crawl through the tall grass until you are 1 arrow shot away. And then spring up and charge forward and crash into the tree. And the apples will fall down." Well, Fox thought he was pretty sneaky, so he thought he could sneak up on any old apple tree. So he thanked the raccoon, and he set out down the path. He was going. He went up over the hill. He came down. He found the oak tree, and he turned right. He went down that path. Came to the stream. He went across the stream. He went over another hill. He kept going until... the apple tree. Fox went to rush forward to get those apples, but then he remembered what the raccoon said. He had to sneak up on it. So he got down on his belly in the tall grass, and he was sneaking forward until he was 1 arrow shot away. He poked his head up over the grass. He looked up into the branches of the tree, and he saw... hundreds of juicy... And now, Fox didn't want 1 apple. He wanted... So he thought, 1 arrow shot away, and I get a couple apples. What if I back up to 5 arrow shots away? Then I'll get lots of apples. So he backed himself up through the tall grass until he was 5 arrow shots away. He got himself ready. He sprang up into the air and he went charging forward. And he was running until boom! He crashed into the apple tree with his head. And that fox started to shake, started to quake, and he said, "Hey, I got you, Mr. Apple Tree. You gotta give me some apples." That fox had hit that tree so hard, he knocked himself right out. And how many apples do you think fell down? 0. When that fox had crashed into the tree, all that shaking, all that quaking was inside of his head. The tree never moved. Well, in the morning, the fox woke up and he looked around and he said, "Hey, who took all my apples?" And from a nearby tree, he heard someone, "Fox crashed into the tree with his head, didn't get any apples." Oh, that fox was so mad at that raccoon for playing a trick on him. But he had promised not to eat raccoon for a whole year, so he couldn't chase after him. He went home instead and rested his sore and aching head. And to this day, because the year has gone by, if you ever see raccoon, fox is probably close behind chasing after him, because now he can once again eat raccoon. But you almost never see fox eat an apple. They kind of give him a headache. Donahoe, that story is done. All right, we got to get you guys back to class. I hope you enjoyed hearing some of these stories today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Haudenosaunee, seeing the flag and the wampum, learning about joining together in peace. So think about peace when you see that flag hanging here in your school. And since it is Native American Heritage Month, if you'd like to learn more stories, if anyone's a librarian here or in the public library, get your books about Native Americans. All right, teachers, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Thanks so much for having me here today. All right, say something.